Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you so much, dear devotees, for very kindly joining on this most auspicious occasion of Shri Vijaya Ekadashi. As our Acharyas time and again comment that human life is meant for Hari Bhajan. The only whole and sole purpose of this human life is to make rapid advancement towards the lotus feet of Shri Radha Shama Sundar, towards the lotus feet of Shri Krishna Balaram and Gauranitai. And now we know that we have been practicing bhakti for so many years and probably so many lifetimes, but still there is no attachment towards chanting of the holy name, or still there is no attachment to hearing. Still it's a struggle. If you have to get up in the morning and chant, it's a big struggle. So that is why Shri Krishna is very kind, that he creates days like Ekadashi. Like you see, when we there in India and it's the time of Diwali, everywhere we go, it's sale, 50% off, 50% off, especially on clothes or things like that. It's a complete sale. Similarly, these days of Ekadashi, it's like sale. It's there for so that we can make a rapid advancement. Krishna is outright is giving that these days are advancement. It's only meant for Hari Bhajan. It's only meant for performing bhakti. If these days are taken seriously, then one can make leaps and bounds of spiritual progress by following Ekadashis. So it's a very power-packed day, very auspicious day. And we see this month of February and even March, it's filled with festivals. In fact, for Gaudiya Vaishnavas, every day is a festival. Every step is a dance and every day is a festival, as Prabhupada would say. And particularly we find today's Ekadashi, Vijaya Ekadashi. Tomorrow is the disappearance day of Shri Ishwara Puri. Who is Shri Ishwara Puri? The spiritual master of Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, the spiritual master of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So tomorrow is his disappearance day, another very auspicious day. And on Monday or Tuesday, based on where we are, if we are based in India, then it's Monday. And I think if we are here in the US, particularly in the West Coast, then it is Tuesday. We have the day of Shiva Ratri, which is worshipped in India more than even Janmashtami. We see people find it very easy to consider Lord Shiva as Bhagavan. But when they have to consider Krishna as God, they have doubts. They start scratching their head. So Monday or Tuesday, wherever we are, it is Mahashivaratri, another very popular and a very power-packed day. Even though we are Gaudiya Vaishnavas, we are followers of Radha and Krishna, but that doesn't mean we don't worship Lord Shiva. In fact, Krishna himself worshipped Lord Shiva. We have seen this in our earlier classes, how Krishna on the day of Shivaratri goes to Ambikavan. We saw that earlier. So Krishna himself is eager and desperate to worship Lord Shiva, particularly on the day of Lord Shivaratri. And not just Krishna, but all the Brajavasis, including Nanda Maharaj. And throughout Vrindavan, we find Lord Shiva is there everywhere. Wherever Krishna is there, Lord Shiva is there. Gopeshwar Mahadev. In Mathura, it is Bhuteshwar Mahadev. In Braj, it is Gopeshwar Mahadev. In fact, it is said that the moment someone enters Vrindavan Dham, the first temple that someone should take darshan of is Gopeshwar Mahadev. He's like the doorkeeper. You see, we don't enter the house without going past the doorkeeper. Similarly, Gopeshwar Mahadev is the doorkeeper. So ideally, one should take darshan of Gopeshwar Mahadev, seek his blessings, and then start visiting different places. The running that we do, like PT Usha, whenever we are in Vrindavan, running from one temple to another temple to another temple. But that should be done only after taking darshan and blessings of Lord Shiva. So in Braj, we find Gopeshwar Mahadev, Kameshwar Mahadev, Aseshwar Mahadev, Icheshwar Mahadev, Vankandeshwar Mahadev, Chakreshwar Mahadev, the place where Sanatan Goswami did bhajan. So many Mahadevs. In fact, in every nook and corner, more than Krishna, it is Lord Shiva who is there in the land of Vrindavan. So he holds a very So, following the mood of the Brajavasis and following the mood of Krishna, how Krishna offered his due respects to Lord Shiva on Shivaratri, we will also start our discussion by glorifying Mahadev. We will also start our discussion by glorifying Lord Shiva. We will take his blessings and then we will start our discussion on the overview of Srimad Bhagavatam. We find, dear devotees, before going to the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, let us backtrack to the 4th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. For the devotees who were there when we were discussing the 4th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, we split the 4th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam into 3 parts. It's been so long that I really doubt whether devotees even remember it. We have just been discussing the 10th canto for the past so many weeks together that I'm pretty sure the divisions that we made for the 1st canto, 2nd canto, 3rd canto, sab ud gaya rahega. It would have completely evaporated. But nonetheless, the 4th canto was split or divided into 3 sections. Bhakti in the mode of tamas, bhakti in the mode of rajas, and bhakti in the mode of pure goodness or shuddha sattva. And in the mode of tamas, we describe the pastime of Daksha and Lord Shiva. Daksha means expert. We describe the pastime of Lord Shiva and Daksha. And just to shed some light on that very beautiful pastime, we find that Daksha, he is the father-in-law for Lord Shiva. Daksha's daughter is Sati, and Sati gets married to Lord Shiva. So naturally, Daksha becomes the father-in-law, or in other words, we have Lord Shiva becomes the son-in-law for Daksha. And cutting the long story short, we see as to how everyone was invited in that sacrifice. Big dignitaries were invited, except Lord Shiva. We saw this earlier. Everyone was invited, but except for Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva did not take this as an offense. We sometimes take it, oh, everyone is invited, I am not invited. But this happens even with Lord Shiva. Everyone was invited, but Lord Shiva was not invited in that sacrifice. But Lord Shiva did not mind. He's such a great devotee, he did not mind. But Sati, the wife of Lord Shiva, she took it very personally. And she felt so offended. She felt so offended that when she came to this sacrifice and she saw that everyone was there except her husband, in fit of rage, she started to criticize her own father. And in that fit of rage, in that fire that was fuming from inside, it manifested as external fire and completely consumed Sati. Sati departed this world by her own fire, her own sweet will. Why? Because Lord Shiva was not invited. Now, this is what Bhagavatam describes, and this is true. But this is external. Iha by here. This is external reason. This is not the internal reason why Sati decided to leave her body, why she decided to depart from this world. There is a very sweet and less heard internal reason behind Sati's departure. And we will see that. Once Prabhu Shri Ram was there in the forest. As we know, Prabhu Shri Ram was exiled by his own, he was exiled by his own men, by his own family. So when he went to the forest, he was accompanied with Lakshman and even Maya Sita. And as we know, the Vanvas, the exile was for 14 years. And Prabhu Shri Ram, for 13 years, everything was perfectly fine. It was in the last year when the whole drama unfolded. So when they were living in that forest, Lord Shiva and Sati, they once came to see Prabhu Shri Ram. And when they came to see Shri Ram, they saw that Shri Ram was crying. He was in tears, crying, Sita, Sita, Sita. He was crying, shedding tears. And when Lord Shiva saw this, he offered his obeisances because he understood what the internal reason was as to how Ravana, Dashamukha, the 10-headed demon, he had disguised himself into that of a sannyasi. You see, sannyasis, We always respect sannyasis. Naturally, the moment we see sannyasis, our head bows down in respect. It's the highest order of ashram. So Ravan took advantage of that, and he came in the disguise of a sannyasi. And even though we know Lakshman had put the Lakshman Rekha, but by the will of providence, somehow Ravana ended up kidnapping Maya Sita. Now we all know this story. Up until now, we have heard this story, very famous. Now, after Ravana kidnapped Maya Sita, Prabhu Sri Ram was crying and weeping, and Lakshman was trying to console, but Sri Ram was still crying. And from a distance, Lord Shiva and Sati, they were seeing the whole thing. Lord Shiva understood, but Sati was perplexed. She said, wait a minute. He is the Supreme Lord. He is the Lord for my own husband. And he's crying. He is weeping. He is having material attachments. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma Na Shochati Na Kangshati. The 18th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Lord himself says, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma. Ideally, one should be Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma. He should be blissful. He should be happy. Someone who is spiritually minded, he doesn't care for the living. He doesn't care for the dead because he doesn't have material attachments. Not that he doesn't care, but he doesn't have attachments. He is not bound by attachment. So that same Supreme Lord, who in the battlefield of Kurukshetra speaks about not being attached, now he is being attached to his own wife. So Sati was perplexed. Hey, wait a minute. Practice before you preach. You in the Kurukshetra war, you are saying that someone should not be attached, but here you're yourself attached to your own wife. Sati was confused. She was scratching her head, and she turned towards Lord Shiva and said, oh Mahadev, what is the significance? What is the Bhakti Vedanta purport behind this? What is the understanding? And Lord Shiva said, oh, this is the Naravat Leela. This is the human-like pastimes of Prabhu Sri Ram. But Sati could not still understand. So she had doubts in her mind about the identity, about the position of Sri Ram. Even though Lord Shiva said that Sri Ram is Bhagavan, but still Sati had doubts. So Sati decided to test Sri Ram. Now this is height. She decides to test the Supreme Lord. Supreme Lord is right now, he's plagued in emotions. His own wife has been separated. And here is Sati wanting to test Sri Ram, whether he's actually Bhagavan or not. And at that point, Sati transforms herself. She again disguises. Just like Ravana disguised himself into that of a sannyasi. Similarly, Sati disguised herself as that of Sita Maya. She transformed herself as Sita. And she went. She said, oh, Prabhu Sri Ram, you were calling me? I was here. I was here. And when Sri Ram saw, he turned his face. And then Sita, as Sati, she again came from another end. And Prabhu Sri Ram again turned his face. North, west, east, south, all directions. Sati came as Sita in order to tell Sri Ram that, my dear Lord, I am here. But Sri Ram was not ready to even look at Sita, who was apparently Sati. At that time, Sati understood that any mere mortal would have been disguised. Seeing this form, any mere mortal would have been disguised. But Sri Ram, oh, he is not only crying, but he's crying for the real wealth. He knows who Maya Sita is. Even though I have disguised myself, Sri Ram is not falling for the trap. So Sati, as Sita, she offered obeisances. And when she offered obeisances and looked up, she saw Sri Ram and Sita happily sitting together in a throne, beautifully smiling, as if nothing had happened, as if no kidnapping had ever happened. She was completely perplexed. She was thinking, what is going on? Some time back, I saw Sri Ram was crying, and here is Sri Ram now, completely happy, completely smiling, and completely blissful. And when she again got up after paying obeisances, again Sri Ram was back to square one. Again he was crying. So he was crying, then he was there with Maya Sita, and again back to crying. switching between Naravat Leela and the Supreme Lord. Sati understood that Sri Ram is indeed the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is not a mere mortal. He is performing the pastimes of a Naravat, human-like, but he is the Supreme Lord. She understood, and she decided to go back to Lord Shiva. She decided to go back to her consort, her husband. And when she approached Lord Shiva looked at Sati and he asked, "Oh, were you able to test? You waited all this while. Were you able to test Sri Ram?" His question itself was a test, because he knew that Sri Ram is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Lord Shiva's question itself was a test. He said, "Oh, were you able to test Sri Ram? What happened?" And at that time, when Sati heard this question, she was not able to speak the truth. She was just trying to change the conversation. Sometimes we also see when we are cornered and we have no answer, we try to change the conversation. So Sati also, she understood that she has no answer. So she was trying to change the conversation, but Lord Shiva understood. He said, "What happened? You wanted to test the Supreme Lord? You wanted to test Sri Ram? What happened?" And she started crying, completely embarrassed. But Lord Shiva got so offended that his master was tested. He got so offended that his own wife was not able to accept the superiority of Prabhu Sri Ram, that Lord Shiva decided to leave that place. He rejected his own wife. That Sati is doubting the superiority of Sri Ram. I don't want to be in this place. I don't want to be in a place where my master, my Supreme Lord, is doubted. Even though it is my own wife, doesn't matter. Lord Shiva stormed out from that assembly. He left that assembly. Now, what was the mistake of Sati, dear devotees? Sati committed a few mistakes. First, when in the forest, when Lord Shiva mentioned that Sri Ram is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, she did not trust. She did not trust her own husband, who is Mahadev. Mahadev is again not a mere mortal, but she did not trust her own husband. Second, we find she decided to test the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is so kind, he comes down to protect the dear devotees. And here is Sati deciding to test the Supreme Lord himself. And third, when Sati came back to meet Lord Shiva, she was still not ready to speak the truth. And Lord Shiva, for these three reasons, decided to leave from that place. He rejected Sati, not wanting to be around her. And Sati was so embarrassed. What will she do without her own husband? She was feeling so embarrassed that Sri Ram, I tested Sri Ram and now my own husband has also left. So Sati decided, in the pretext of the whole sacrificial yajna that Daksha had arranged, Sati decided that this is the best time when I will leave my body. What is the use? My own husband has not accepted me. With this body, I am testing the Supreme Lord. What is the use of having this body? In the pretext of that sacrificial yajna that Daksha had arranged, Sati decided to leave this world. So external reason was Shiva was not invited by Daksha to that assembly. But the internal reason was Sati was rejected by Lord Shiva. The internal reason was Sati decided to test the Supreme Lord Sri Ram. She gave up her body in the pretext of that sacrificial yajna that Daksha had arranged. And after giving up her body, in the next life, she appeared as the daughter of Himalayan Parvat, the Himalayan mountains. So Parvat means mountain. And naturally, the daughter of a Parvat is Parvati. So she came back again as the daughter of Himalayan Parvat, as Parvati. And now when she came as Parvati, she started doing intense bhajan, Tivra bhajan, with full intensity, with full steam. And as we know, Krishna takes time to be convinced. Krishna is a very tricky personality. We may be chanting for many years, but Krishna, he takes time to appear in our heart. But Lord Shiva, So he's Ashutosh, he's Bholenath. Very easily he gets satisfied, very easily he gets pleased. Lord Shiva got pleased with Parvati's bhajan, and Parvati had this desire of getting married to Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva agreed to that proposal, and the Himalayan Parvat, that is the father of Parvati, he arranged that marriage wherein he accepted Lord Shiva as his son-in-law. So the day when Parvati again got reunited with Lord Shiva, the reason I say reunited is previously she was Sati. So the day Parvati again got reunited with Lord Shiva is the day called as Mahashiva Ratri. Mahashiva Ratri is nothing but the wedding anniversary of Lord Shiva and Parvati. The day when they again got reunited as Parvati and Lord Shiva is Mahashiva Ratri. So this is such a special occasion where Lord Shiva is ready to accept anyone and everyone. Even though someone has committed Vaishnava Aparadh, still Lord Shiva is so kind that he is ready to accept. But at the same time, Lord Shiva is also teaching that one should stay away from Vaishnava Aparadhis as much as possible. Even though Sati was his own wife, she committed Vaishnava Aparadh. Not just Vaishnava Aparadh, but she tested the Supreme Lord. She doubted the words of Lord Shiva. And for this reason, Shiva decided to leave from that place. So the lesson, the underlining lesson, even if it is our own family members, if they are critical to Vaishnavas, we keep a distance. We should never associate with those who are Vaishnava Aparadhis, because if we associate with Vaishnava Aparadhis, we partake in their offense. We may say that, oh, Prabhu, I didn't say anything. He criticized. I was just a spectator, but doesn't matter. Just like we may not be eating meat, but if you're supplying meat to someone, we also partake in that offense. Similarly, we may not be critical, we may not be offensive, but if we are there in an assembly, if we are not speaking against those who are critical, we also partake in that offense. So Lord Shiva, as the best Vaishnava, is teaching that whenever Vaishnavas are criticized, better to leave that assembly, even if it is our own family members, even if it is someone's wife or husband or own children. We don't associate very closely with those who are Vaishnava Aparadhis, so don't respect Vaishnavas. So in this way, we find Monday or Tuesday, based on wherever we are, is the day of Mahashivratri, where Parvati gets reunited with Lord Shiva. Having said this, we offer our obeisances to Lord Shiva. We beg for his prayers, we beg for his blessings, best wishes, so that we can end up glorifying his master, his Lord, that is Sri Krishna, in the land of Vrindavan, in the right spirit. Shri Mahadeva ki jai, Shri Gopeshwar Mahadeva ki jai, Shri Mahashivaratri ki jai.